Kia ora guys, great day. See all those clouds behind me? So today's mission is to carry on from where I left off, wiring up the board. I've got all the port side cables into the right areas. Today is getting all the starboard side cables into the right areas, lengthen them, start figuring out which cables go where. The first thing that greets me when I got on board Tiare today is my usual friends. That big mess down there, Jesus. And we'll just go check the other side and see what that's like. And they've changed sides, so a little bit there, but obviously they've changed their view and have gone on the other side. Let's go inside and see what we've done so far, eh? Righto, all my magic blue boxes. Woo! So as you can see, I've got all the blue boxes on there. The cables are starting to come into the right areas. Some of these cables need lengthening, and I've got a few cables to sort out here. This is my VHF AIS aerial here. Set of cables here. It's for my anchor light, and my anchor light doesn't work. I think one of the birds got bored at night and just yeah, thought he'd fiddle with my cables up there. I know these things happen, and I thought I'd protected it enough. Obviously not. So we'll see what happens. I have to climb up the mast and give it a go. So that's what it is. I didn't order enough of these terminals, and particularly these ones here. I've run more 16mm cable than I thought I was going to. I've got a feed to my starboard main cabin, a feed to the helm, and I hadn't allowed enough of these big 16mm pushing connectors, so I've had to order a few online. Camera's going. I've got G'day guys, question time. Hey, thanks for one of the questions, guys. I think it was Smart English JP sent in a few questions that I thought would be worth answering. So here they are. So it says, hi, typhoon turned out to be pretty much nothing, as usual. I was just wondering, your catamaran has a New Zealand name? Is it registered in New Zealand? Did you sail it from New Zealand yourself? And have you had any issues with it in Japan? Docking at marinas, Coast Guard checks, customs, etc. Cheers. Well, thanks for the question. Typhoons turn out to be, they can be sort of over dramatized in the media, but certainly the last one was fizzled out in this area. As it tracks south, I'm sure it was pretty bad for someone else further south. The one before that was actually a big deal. That's the reason why that cat's on the beach over there. It was a typhoon that broke her moorings and basically sunk her. So yeah, we do take typhoons pretty seriously around here, because they only have to go one way or the other, and yeah, it turns into just a general 35-40 knots to something quite serious. So yeah, normally not such a big deal, but you do still have to be very careful with them. Yeah, so this catamaran does have a New Zealand name. It's well, it's a Polynesian name. It's her name is Tiare, not Tiare, but Tiare, and it's Polynesian for flower. And yep, she is registered in New Zealand. I'm a New Zealander, so the boat is registered under my name in New Zealand. That's why she has the NZ at the front of her registration number. And did we sail it from New Zealand? No, we didn't sail it from New Zealand. Boats in New Zealand are generally a lot more expensive than you can find elsewhere in the world, simply because I guess there's a limited market, and if you've managed to get the boat to New Zealand, it means something, and you know, it's fairly expensive. So no, we did look at a few boats in New Zealand, but nothing really grabbed our interest. I had my eye on Tiare while she was being built, so I was following the letters from James Wharram, and they were describing her build, and so I was following along as she was being built, and then I always thought, well, that's the boat I'd like, and one circumstance led to another, and she ended up being the boat we found. It's fantastic. And probably a good question is, have we had any issues with her being a New Zealand registered and foreign owned boat in Japan? And the honest answer is no, nothing at all. We don't have to go through JCI inspections. When we first arrived in Japan, there were ongoing what were they? You had to go and do a port declaration. So you had to go to an area and say, look, I'm here now, and then put the next port of entry that you're going to go all the way up, you know, wherever you're going. And this is it's okay for big ships, commercial ships, but for a sailboat, pleasure boat, it becomes kind of onerous and a bit of a hassle. That all changed a few years ago. You now fill in one form, and that's good for anywhere in Japan and for as long as you're in Japan as well. Unlike a lot of countries where the boat has a limited amount of time in the country before you either have to pay tax or it's got to leave, Japan doesn't have that. It's the boat can stay in as long as the boat's here. It stays here. It doesn't attract tax or anything. The people generally, if they're foreigners coming in on a visa, then they'll have to renew their visas. So that's generally the limit for a lot of people. Problems with customs? No, not all. We've had no customs, and the same with any of the other officials as well. We don't have any issues with officials. Officials tend to be they're extremely polite. Yes, they're officious, but that's their job. They are officials. They have paperwork they need to fill out, but it's not really a big deal. When you arrive into the country, you should be getting a particular piece of paper. I've forgotten the name of it, but basically it's a customs declaration to say that you'll leave with what you've got on board. You can travel around. You don't have customs coming down to annoy you every time you pull into a harbour. The Coast Guard, they like to know where you are. I don't have any problems with that. They're there to make sure that you stay safe and you remain safe. And we've always had a really good relationship with the Coast Guards. We always make an effort to say hello. We always welcome them on board or say thank you very much for checking up on us, and that is appreciated. They, you know, if you go onto one of the big Coast Guard cutters, they sometimes will take you on board if you need to fill out paperwork and things. You know, we've got a big fat file of all our applications all the way through, and that doesn't worry us. That's fine. There are a couple of foreigners that live in Japan that have an issue with officials, and they do things like turn their AIS on and off as they're going and just generally dick around, and they get a hard time, and fair enough too. If you do that anywhere else in the world or many other countries in the world, you will get a very hard time. In Japan, they're just going to be a little bit more officious. They'll just throw more paperwork at you and visit you more often. I've never had any problems with them. They've always been very courteous, very pleasant to deal with. As long as you understand the rules, then you're fine. Get any problems with marinas? We don't go into marinas. We really are budget boaters, and we've also got a big boat. So in Japan, most boats are around about the 30-foot mark. So most marinas are set up for that sort of size boat. They're not really set up for 55-foot plus cats. It's not that you can't find places to go, they just tend to be very expensive, and there's not that many of them around. We generally anchor out, or if we're not anchoring out, we'll go into a fisherman's port and just moor up there for the night or so, just being aware that, you know, these are working ports. So we've never had any real problems. We've been all sorts of places. Tiare is a cat, so she spins on her own length, so we can actually get into quite tight areas, and she's very shallow as well, so it's not a real problem around here. Yeah, so thanks for the question, Smart English JP. Yeah, it's always nice to think about it, and people often ask you know, interesting questions that I might not have thought about, or from a particular angle I've not thought about. So I'm really happy to answer any questions you might have, particularly about sailing in Japan and that, but also anything else in general about Japan that I might have an opinion on, and I probably do have an opinion on it.